Yep.
Cool, mate. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you, brother. How are you?
Yeah, absolutely fine, thank you. We haven't done a collaboration for quite a while, have we? So we had a little chat the other day,
Age.
and we said it'd be really cool for me to find out a little bit more about Cobra Stacker
Okay.
and let the the UK community know a little bit about you and how you got to become, or more about your little journey to make you who Cobra Stacker is, who we see every day, lots of times a week and a month. So we'll kick it off with a basic question. How did you get from a young lad to, I'm going to say, the UK stacking legend that you are today? Um,
I don't know about legend. I don't know,
yeah, you
you might
are, dude.
pushing it a bit there with legend, but um, the UK stacker that I am, yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
So we're going to go on that journey and we're going to start in the beginning, if it's okay with you. Not too
yeah,
much
absolutely.
detail. Tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about you, little Cobra Stacker back in the day.
All right. Well, yeah, I was born in the 70s, early 70s, and I had one brother, and we always used to fight as siblings do. Um, and it wasn't easy times when I was a kid. Things weren't so accepting, let's shall we say, back in the day. Um, and I also ended up leaving home quite early. So I left home when I was 15, totally left the home.
Wow.
And so I had quite a struggle in the beginning. Obviously, I didn't have anything. And in the beginning, I lived on the street. So, yeah, very, very humble beginnings.
Wow.
Um,
Can we just jump in? Whereabouts was you living when you was born, and whereabouts
I,
in the world was you?
I was born in Greenford and I lived in Harrow
All right.
for quite a while. Well, I left home at 15. I was still in Harrow then. And I was in Harrow till about 19 years old.
All right. And how was life as a teenager and a youngster for you?
Well, at that time, we were in the time of skinheads. Um, and so when I was very young, I was picked on by older kids who were skinheads. And that was a very tough time. But it also made me into what I was and probably fed me along my whole journey of my career and what I did with myself. So, as I say, middle school, picked on by skinheads, rough times, went to high school, decided that was not going to happen no more. And so the first one to, let's say, call me the P word, um, we got into a little fight, which
Yeah.
I did all right with. And then it just boosted me to sort of say, yeah, I'm not going to take any rubbish from anyone. But I maybe went a bit too far with that, as in the other way.
Okay.
Um, so got very aggressive and all that lot. But that only lasted a few years until I realised I had to change my ways.
So so back when you was at school, I'm not going to go on about it too much. So you basically bullied by
Yep,
sounds of it, and
in middle school, yeah.
in middle school. And how did that what was that like, dude, for you? Because I know a lot of people talk about bullying. I was pretty fortunate to a degree that I wasn't overly bullied. So just give me your basic. How did that feel? Was it?
Well, it was an everyday thing. So it wasn't so much in the school because we were only up to the age of 11 or 12 years old, something like that.
Yeah.
It was more after school where kids of about 18, 19 years old would come in groups of 8 to 10 of them. And obviously, because of the color of my skin and where my parents were from, um, they'd beat the little kids up. So they weren't really tough themselves because you're picking on 8 and 9 year olds,
Yeah.
and you're like 18, 19 years old. So it was a very rough time. And, I'd go home in tears a lot of times. And actually, my dad was the one who toughened me up. At first, he was sympathetic, he understood. And then, because it was happening day after day after day, back in those days, things were a bit rougher at home. And so one day he beat me. And then he said, if you
Yeah.
come home crying tomorrow, you'll get more of that. And so the next day, even though I couldn't beat these lads, I was only a kid, I tried to fight back. And because I tried to fight back, when I went home that day, I wasn't crying. I was like, look, I gave it my best shot in my head. And that sort of started to build that fighting element in me.
Yeah.
But it was very rough in those days.
Yeah, not good. And so just that element of your life lasted how long, would you say?
Well, as I say, all through high school, the first couple of years in high school, I fought quite a bit. And then I got a bit of a name for myself. But then when I left high school and came into the world as such, I was fighting quite a bit on the street because, older people and all that lot were still looking at things in certain ways. And so it did cause a situation where I had to fight. And also, I think I'd got it in my head a bit that everyone was the same. So even if they looked at me wrong, I was straight up there, like, what you're looking at type of thing, and getting myself into a bit of trouble, to be honest.
Yeah. And was there many other kids like yourself around there experiencing the same sort of thing, or was it quite pretty much?
Yeah, I mean, let's say the Indian community wasn't as big as what it is now, let's say. So
Yeah.
in Harrow and all that lot, there was a few of us. And yeah, I believe it, all of us went through it in one way or another, for sure. For sure.
Wow. So that was your wonderful school years.
Oh, yes.
And how did you get on at school outside of that?
Well, due to all that lot and situations at home, I left school quite early. So I actually came out with nigh on no qualifications.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the truth of it. I literally had nothing. But when I left home, in the beginning, I was living on the street, and then I worked for an agency. And back in those days, you could literally turn up at 6 o'clock in the morning. They'd take your name, put you on a minibus, and off you went to your first place of work, which at that time was the old Wembley Stadium. And I used to fix seats in Wembley Stadium. Then they'd pick me up from there, take me to a factory in Watford called Savage Industries. And we used to make shelf brackets next to a furnace. And I would literally work day and night non-stop, pick up from one place to the other, back to the other for 4 days and nights. Then I would get home. I then rented a room after a while. I'd get home and I'd sleep for 2 days. I had a little box room, tiny little box room. That's all I had. And I'd sleep for 2 days. Then I'd get up on the third day, wash my stuff, sort myself out, and I'd be back out for 4 days and nights non-stop again.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Before we jump
and that went on for a while.
Yeah, I'm sure. So we're talking about mid-80s here, aren't we?
Yeah.
Roughly.
Yep.
So you said at 15, you was out on the streets, living on the
Yep.
streets.
Yep.
What the hell was that like? Give us an idea of the environment and what your day to day when you wasn't working for this agency. What was that? God, what was that
Well, you
like?
imagine when you're at school, when you're at high school and all that, like you've got friends and you'd call them up and you'd link up and you'd do stuff. When you've got nothing and you actually go onto the street, obviously school didn't last much longer because I couldn't. And you have no one. And I mean literally no one. So I couldn't talk to any of my family at that time. And I had no friends because after a while, well, they're not really interested in someone who can't go out, can't do nothing, hasn't got any money. In the beginning, I was sleeping rough and using a hospital to shower. I'd sneak in and maybe sleep in there at night if I could find a place where it was all closed down and no one was going to be around. Leave early in the morning. If I found any cubicles in there which had little showers and all that, I'd have a shower and I carried on like that. Started working in the agency. They didn't ask for an address or nothing at that time. And then as soon as I had enough money, rented this little box room, as I say. And I would eat chips every day, just chips, because I couldn't afford anything else. So a hot meal was a bag of chips, basically. So it was a very, very, very lonely time. Very lonely time.
Yeah,
Um,
that was going to be my next question actually, because again, I feel very privileged, even like 7 minutes into this type of collaboration. I feel like I've had a very privileged life, big time. Um, Mate, I've never lived on the street, so I'm a little bit curious. So when you was out there at a very young age, um, whew, living on the streets, when you say living on the, where did you sleep?
well, that's what I was saying. I'd try and sneak into a hospital, and I'd go to the areas that were closed off at night.
Yeah,
So I'd get in there quite late, 9, 10, 11 o'clock. And if I could find anywhere to sleep, I'd sleep. And then I'd leave early in the morning before it opened up and people were there. During, if it was warm nights, even if I slept on a bench, that was fine. So it was wherever I could get my head down, and I was all right. I got into a bit of trouble here and there, obviously trying to survive.
yeah.
Um, and things were a bit rough uh, during certain times, but I worked, and that was my main thing. I would work to try and survive. Um, so yeah, it was very rough. It wasn't easy. It was very lonely, very depressing at times, but I had no choice,
So,
and I wasn't going to give up.
and how long was you in this situation for?
Without a room, without actually having the room, probably about a month and a half,
Okay.
like that, and then I got the box room.
So you're still 15,
I was still a
15,
kid.
16,
Yeah,
15,
I was
16.
still a kid. Absolutely.
Okay, so your journey there, you finally, it sounds like you've got off your backside, got a bit of work, survived somehow,
Yeah, yeah,
and found yourself a roof over your head through your
yeah.
tenacious attitude of working. What was that like, your room?
Um, Bro, I remember I had a single bed in it, and I had a little table next to the bed, and on that table I had a radio alarm clock, and my only source of entertainment was that radio alarm clock. All I could do was listen to the radio.
Wow.
I wasn't allowed anywhere else in the house, obviously the bathroom and all that lot. They didn't want me to use the kitchen, so I literally had my room. That was all I had. And as I say, I had no friends at that time. I started meeting people on the street and all that sort of stuff. And, you know, and as I say, I used to still fight. And so I had a bit of a reputation there. But things were getting very rough in that way where I was getting to a stage that I actually thought if I carry on with this type of lifestyle, I'm going to end up dead or in prison. But again, I still worked. When I was about 17, I think, roughly, I mean, this was a very long time ago, guys. But from what I can remember, when I was about 17 years old, I went to Pizza Hut and I got a job in there. And I started off as a delivery driver and I worked hard. I would go out, it didn't matter whether it was raining, it was cold, it was whatever. I'd be out delivering pizzas and all that lot. And then I said to the manager, look, I don't want to just be driving mopeds and delivering pizzas. And so he said, all right, well, come inside and let's see how you do inside. Well, I was the quickest at making the pizzas, cutting the pizzas, boxing them, organizing which deliveries were going out and all that. And I was still very young. Within 6 months, I think, 6 to 8 months of being there, he made me a trainee manager. And Pizza Hut at the time, I don't know what they're like now, but they used to send you on courses, teach you business management, all that sort of stuff. And so it took me a year and a half to become a full manager. And I think I was 19 at the time when I was given my first shop, which was in Mill Hill. And I
Okay.
was the youngest manager ever for Pizza Hut. And at 19, I was earning more than what my father was.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So that's amazing, dude. We can now start to generally build up a picture of how you got to the Cobra stack. Quite
Yeah.
easily now. So you've managed to avoid getting yourself into dodgy situations out on the street, which I can imagine is quite easy for a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
and you can't always blame the people.
no,
There are a lot of people who put themselves in situations, but sometimes to survive, you have to do things, and that can get you in trouble.
yeah,
And if you're not a worker, if you won't graft, then you're going to go down another path.
yeah. So here you are at 19 years of age. How did this feel when you had this opportunity, and what was going through your mind? 19. I mean, you're at the back end of the 80s, a great time
Yeah,
to be alive as a teenager,
yeah.
for most of us. Um, what 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 was your mindset?
Um,
Can you remember?
Survival.
Yeah, still survival
Honestly, it was
mode.
just survival. I had a good head on me. It wasn't that I was unintelligent and that's why I didn't get qualifications.
Mm,
It was my life was a mess.
yeah,
And so I didn't complete school. I was top in maths. I loved the sciences. Um, but I just, things weren't great. And I didn't do the exams properly and I didn't have time for all that. And so that all went by the wayside.
yeah,
So it was survival. But then I realized that if I worked as hard as I could,
yeah.
there were opportunities there.
Okay. So getting back, you're 19, you've been offered this job. I take it you took it.
Of course, yeah.
Okay, cool. Are you still in your box room?
Where was I then? Oh my God. um,
Sorry.
I think I might have moved out of there and I had another bedroom somewhere. I was renting a room. I didn't have my own place, as in my own place. So I was
Okay.
probably renting rooms still. I was still getting fights and all that lot, and I got into a situation which got a bit heavy. And probably when I was about 20, coming up 21, I decided that for my own welfare, shall we say, I'd move to East London. Now, why I thought East London was going to be a good idea compared to West London, like it was going to be any better, I have no idea.
Okay.
But I did move to East London.
Okay. Well, before we get into the East London bit, I'm just
Yep.
going to ask you, you've mentioned you used to get into fights and bits and pieces like that. Was this purely down to what you've experienced at your longer life? Was it racial, or was
Yeah, the
it
majority
just
of it
or
was.
was it just Cobra stackers just on a rant, and he's just going to go mad if anyone says anything or looks at him the wrong way?
Yeah. No, I'll give you that. No, it really was in a way. I mean, look, people would start and all that lot, but I took no nonsense. The trouble was I became very aggressive,
Yeah.
to a point that even someone who wasn't necessarily starting, but may have said one word or looked at me in a certain way,
Yeah.
I was over there getting into a fight, shall we say?
Yeah. And was this like in our social time outside of work on bits and pieces like that?
Yeah, exactly that.
Okay.
So when I was working, I was kept busy.
Yeah.
And that was the best thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
But to be honest, I'd go to a snooker club at night. I'd play snooker with a couple of friends I'd made by then. I would gamble on the fruit machines. I got quite heavy into that, and I didn't do any favors for myself with that.
Yeah.
But there were certain things that went on, and that would cause me to fight.
Yeah.
But I had no fear then. I had no fear of anyone.
Yeah.
And in a way, that made me a bit uncontrollable, shall we say?
Yeah.
Which wasn't good. I'm not proud of those times,
Yeah.
but it is part of my life. It's part of what happened.
Exactly.
So, you know.
Exactly. So something made you want to get out of Harrow and the surrounding area and move to more my old manor, which was East London. What was that about then, dude? What was going on there?
It was just something was clicking in my head that I need to calm down, or I need to get into an area where no one knows me and I can restart. It was a sort of reset.
Yeah.
And so I went to East London and I thought I'd restart and everything will be cool and it'll all be good. Unfortunately, where I moved in East London was a place called Chingford.
Oh, no.
And at that time, there was very few Asians. Walthamstow was full of Asians.
Yeah.
Chingford had none.
Yeah.
So very few Asians and very few blacks. In fact, there was a pub called Royston Arms,
I know it.
and that's where all my journey started.
Yeah.
And no Asian or no black person had ever stepped foot in there.
Yeah.
And I got a job in a chip shop opposite it.
Okay.
And so I was working in this chip shop, and again, I worked so hard. They loved me there. And there was a guy, I won't mention his name, but to this day, I still remember his name. And he came in, I was down the back doing something with a kebab. Don't make a joke out of that.
Yeah.
But I was down the back doing something with a kebab, and all I heard was, I was going to say my name there. All I heard was Cobra Stacker, but it really wasn't Cobra Stacker at that time.
Yeah.
Cobra. And so I ran to the front, and the owner's cousin or whatever had a cut right across his face. And what happened was there was a group of guys, they were probably in their early 30s, and they were known to carry knives. They were known to be trouble. And one of them come in and asked for tick or credit.
Yeah.
And the guy who was working that day turned around and said, look, we can't give you any tick. You already owe us money and you haven't paid it. So the guy picked up a jar of gherkins and smashed it straight into his face, and it cut him right down the side of his face, and he walked out. So I ran after him, and I didn't know who he was. I literally had been in the area, I don't know, 5 months, 6 months, something like that. I didn't know his reputation, didn't know nothing about him. And I beat him up, and I gave him 7 stitches across his eyebrow.
Yep.
Well, when that happened, the whole pub came out onto the street. There was a wine bar opposite. They came out, and I swear to you, there had to be about 200 people there, all shouting and screaming at me. He was lying on the floor. I was in the middle of the road, and I thought, I'm dead.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely dead. There's nothing I can do here. And my mate came up beside me, and he went, right, Cobra. And again, remember, he didn't call me Cobra, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I was, right, Cobra. He goes, what we're going to do is we're going to back up real slowly into the chip shop. But we ain't going to turn our backs. We're just going to face them, and we're going to back up into there. And I went, all right, mate. And so he goes, you ready? I went, yeah. And we walked back, and they're all coming closer, chucking stuff at us.
Yeah.
We walked back into the chip shop. And then about 10 minutes later, about 8 of them came in, banging stuff, shouting, screaming, all that. And there was a cosh under the counter. And I picked it up, and I thought, you know what? Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. But I'm going to put a few of you into hospital. And as I walked around with the cosh, they did their sort of normal moonwalky style. So they pushed a couple of cabinets over and all that lot, and moonwalked their way out of the chip shop, shouting and screaming all the time. And then basically the next day I said, right, I'm going in the pub to face that geezer. And everyone was going, you can't go in there. No Asians ever step foot in there. You're going to get killed. But I wasn't one that wanted to look over my shoulder. So I basically walked in there. He was at the bar. I went up to him and I said, buy me a drink or we're having another row. And he bought me a drink. And honestly, when I walked through that door, the whole pub went quiet. And it was like one of those cowboy scenes where you walk in and everyone just stops what they're doing and looks at you. And I thought, ooh, that's interesting. But he bought me a drink. And then I started drinking there. And I was accepted into that pub. And I was the only coloured person in that pub.
Okay, cool. So what were you, 20, 21, 22 at the time?
Yeah, about that, 21, 22.
So you've wandered away from North London, you've gone into East London, borders of Essex. And yeah, the local community has found out who Cobra Stacker is.
Yeah.
What a great story. So
well, I mean,
just before you push on with that, where were you? Did you have, before that interaction and that probably bit of a turning point in your life, did you have many friends around you at the time, or you were just still pretty lonely? Was your contact with your family still negative, or?
I'd been up there for about 6 months, 7 months by that time. And because you're working in a chip shop, you meet a lot of people.
Yeah.
So I actually had made a few good friends who,
Excellent.
you know, I mean, they're still my friends now.
Yeah.
They're still my friends now.
Excellent.
So, you know, it was, I was quite happy there, to tell the truth. I really was. And I wasn't fighting all the time. I only fought when I felt it was necessary.
Yeah.
So I tried to calm myself down. And my attitude was I would be decent to anyone or everyone unless they did me wrong.
Yeah.
And when I say me, smashing a bottle in the chip shop guy's face is doing me
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So that's really cool. So we're in the early part of the 90s now. You're out in Chingford.
Yeah.
And what's your next moves, dude?
Well, the next move was I was drinking in that pub every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started bringing my friends into there, and there was a group of about 20 of us.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got known. You know, we were a massive group. No one could touch us. But we weren't trouble. We were not trouble. We would drink in there every night after work. We'd all meet up and have a drink. And so I got known. You know, I got known there. Anyway, it was a summer's day, and I was out in the front. It had a beer garden at the front. And this guy came up, and he had shaved head, but the little bit of hair he had there was dyed red. And he goes, "All right, Cobra." And I went, "All right." I did not know who he was. Anyway, he went into the pub, he ripped the payphone off the wall, and he ran out with it. And then the barman, who was only a small guy, was running after him. And no one in the beer garden moved to help or do anything. And I thought, this barman is going to get his head kicked in. So I ran after him, and the barman went round the corner. The guy went round the corner. The barman went round the corner. Oh, no, the barman stopped. So I followed round the corner. The guy still thought he was the barman. He put the payphone down. I'm talking about a whole payphone, which he ripped off the wall.
Yeah.
And he turned around and he just got a punch straight in the face.
Yeah.
And then the landlord said, "Do you want a job?"
Oh, really?
And I said, "Yeah, all right, I'll have a job." And I started as a barman in that pub. So I was behind the ramp serving beers.
Okay.
And again, any fights or anything, I was straight in there. I'd sort them out. You know, I really sort of developed myself in there. And it was hard because being behind the bar, there was a lot of racial abuse.
Yeah.
But I built up a name and it was fine. It was really good. And then the brewery approached me and asked me if I wanted to go into management. I said yes. So I got trained up. And then they asked me if I wanted to be a troubleshooter. And that was for Bass Breweries. And basically, what my job would be was when a pub was run down and it was pure drugs and fighting and all that lot, I would have to go in, clean it up. I'd be there for between 3 and 6 months, clean it up. They'd give it to a new manager who would then take over, and I'd be moved off to the next pub to troubleshoot.
Okay, mate. Before you go any further, how old are you here?
Oh, I must have been hitting 23 now by this time.
So we're still sort of mid 90s.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I started doing that, and I did 5 or 6 pubs like that until I ended up getting sick of it. And it wasn't because I didn't want to fight or deal with the trouble. It was because I was sick of moving. And I was literally from Chingford to Walthamstow, into Forest Gate, all that sort of stuff. Yeah. And I said to him, I said, "Right, look, the next one you give me the roughest pub you've got." I said, "But once I've dealt with it, leave me there." I said, "I've had enough. I don't want to keep moving." And so they agreed to that. And they gave me a pub called the Rising Sun in Forest Gate.
Yeah, I know.
And half of it was Black and Indian, and half of it was the ICF, the intercity firm, West Ham.
Yeah.
Football hooligans. And yeah, it was rough.
Was rough. I'm sure it was, dude.
Yeah.
Before you go any further, just so we can all paint a picture, what sort of age are you when you went into
probably
that environment?
Coming up 24, 25, around
24,
that.
25. You've I presume when you get the pub, you stay there, do you? You live in the pub, do you? Or?
Yes, always live in the pub, yeah.
Okay, so you got somewhere. And I don't want you to go into the detail. Is Cobra Stacker still on his own, or is there a partner or anything, or you just out there on your own? And my last question for you as well, you can boil it, is we all know that Cobra is a big guy now. Have you worked on your fitness? Was you little? Was was you always been a big guy or what?
Okay, well, I was training. I was in the gym. I was training a lot. I ended up joining a gym run by a guy called Wag Bennett, and Wag Bennett trained Arnold Schwarzenegger for 7 years. And I was introduced to that gym because you couldn't just join; you had to be brought in by someone else who was in the gym.
Mm-hmm.
And Wag Bennett would sit you down and give you a lecture, like no steroids, no drugs. Even though Arnie had done steroids, but he was in competition, and I was training very hard, so I was quite fit. And strong. I had a good attitude to myself. I would talk to people more than just fight, but I was quite happy to fight if I had to. I was very good at business. Yeah, so things were going very well in that way. I went into this pub, the Rising Sun, and I cleaned it up. And I took it from a pub that was taking, I don't know, maybe three and a half, 4 grand a week, to a pub that was now taking 15,000 a week. And in those times, that was a hell of a lot. A hell of a lot.
It was indeed. Before you just give us an example of what you would classify as I have to clean up a pub. What does that mean?
So the first thing I'd do, I'd go into the pub before I took over it, and I'd sit there on a Friday, Saturday night. I'd have a drink and I'd watch, and I'd see who the main people were in that pub. I'd see what trouble was caused in the pub. And when I went into the pub then, the first person I would get rid of would be that main person. And that was tough because you'd have to fight. There was no way you were going to do it by just saying, sorry, mate, you're barred. You'd have a row. And you'd have a few rows after that. And it would take a good month, at least 2 months, to clean it up, get rid of drugs, put the right entertainment on, change the way the pub ran so that you attracted a different crowd. And I would advertise it out there. I'd put leaflets out, all sorts, to just properly turn around a pub to what it should be.
Cool. And you were successful, I take it?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. How long did that take roughly?
In which part? In any of them, or
the last one that you were on about?
The last one,
the Rising Sun.
It took me probably a good 3 months to get rid of main characters or get people on side as well, because you couldn't always get rid of. You're not going to get rid of the ICF. That's not going to happen. No. You know, you're just not going to do it. So you had to get them on side where you might have to have a fight here and there, but to a point where they respected you. So that pub, it wasn't so much getting rid of people, it was gaining their respect to the point that you were valued there. And that's what I did there. That one wasn't so easy as in to just get rid of the trouble and it was gone. But they wouldn't fight in my pub. They'd take it outside.
Okay.
And so that's how that changed. But within a year, I'd increased it so much, I got a £90,000 bonus.
Wow.
And that was where it all started.
Oh, so here we are. Cobra Stacker, 26-ish, roughly.
I think I was probably, 26, coming on to 27, because my son was born when I had that pub.
Ah, okay.
So that was another thing that changed things.
Okay, cool. So little Cobra Stacker come along. Can I ask a question? Did you, or had you kept a relationship with your family during all of this, or
well, that actually
did that all come sort of back? I don't want you to go into detail, obviously.
No, that's all right. That semi repaired itself when I was about 19, 20, around that sort of age.
You still there?
I actually rang my phone and we met up. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, you seem to be jumping around a little bit. That was all.
Sorry, maybe I moved.
That's cool. That's fine.
Yeah, I rang him when I was about 19 or 20 and I said, look, we need to talk. And remember, I hadn't talked to my father, my mother, or my brother in all that time. And he said, all right, meet me at a restaurant near where he worked. And that was in central London. So I met him there and we had a long chat about what I'd been through. up till that time. And he said, I'm proud of you. And that was words that I don't think I'd ever heard. He said, I'm proud of you. He goes, no matter what, he goes, you left and you survived on your own. And you never came back for help. And so we were then on talking terms. And I spoke to my mother again, and me and my brother got close again. So, yes, by that time I had my family back, but not that I was going to move back home.
Yeah.
Just that we now could talk. So that was good. That was good.
So you've created this space. You've made a name for yourself. You've obviously, back in those days, being offered 90 grand, you said, didn't
A
you?
lot of money.
It's a lot of money. A lot
A
of money.
lot of money.
How did it make you feel? How did you feel at that time?
I thought, now I've got a real chance.
Okay.
Now I've got a chance to do something with my life.
Obviously,
so what did I do? Did I get out of the pub?
Sorry, and you just
Yeah.
turned around and said you got your little Cobra
Yeah.
Stacker was born as well. So what
Yeah.
was that like?
All right, well, I'll tell you a little something. I was watching Star Wars in the cinema when his mum went into labour. And
Wow.
I got a phone call in the cinema saying that she had gone into labour. And I think I was doing about 80 miles or 70 miles an hour down this A road. And remember, at that time, cars weren't that great. You know, you couldn't do 120 and 130. So probably 70 or 80 miles an hour, which was really fast in that old banger of a car I had.
Yeah.
And got to the hospital just before he was born.
Hey.
So that was all right. I was there for the birth. Yeah, very special moment and a turning point. Definitely a turning point in my life.
Yeah.
So I went off. I then moved to another pub called the Baker's Arms in Walthamstow.
Wow, I know that as well.
On the corner, you know, it had
Yeah, I know
market
it, yeah.
stalls outside it and all that lot. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
ran the Baker's Arms.
yeah.
And then I was there probably about, I'm going to say a year. It might have been a bit less, it might have been a bit more, but I'm going to say about a year. And then I bought my first pub, and that was the Cowley Arms in Leytonstone.
Wow,
That was the first pub I bought.
You bought a pub. Now I'm a bit naive. I don't know how they work.
Okay.
So is this like buying a house? But
Well,
it's
it's
a
not a
pub or
freehold. It's
okay.
not a freehold. It's a leasehold.
Okay.
So it's called a fully repairable lease. You're responsible for the whole building. Again, you've got to forgive me for exact amounts and times and all that lot because
That's fun.
it was so long ago.
Yeah.
But I think it was a 21-year lease off the top of my head.
Okay.
I went into partnership with someone, and yeah, I took over that pub. And again, I was really good at cleaning up pubs and making them work. And we blew the roof off that pub. Absolutely blew the roof off it.
What, literally?
Well, as in we did really well.
Yeah.
And yeah, built it right up. Sorry, I was getting a call coming in on the phone, and I was just trying to send a message to say, you know, I'll call you back. Yeah, built it really up. It was the place to be. Entertainment on every day, whether it be a pool competition, whether it be karaoke, DJs. It was just a buzzing pub and did really, really well there. I was there, again, I couldn't tell you exactly, but I want to say a couple of years. I was probably hitting up to about 29, 30-ish, something around there.
So
in fact,
we're now in
one good. Eh?
So I was just going to say, we're now in the 2000s, aren't we?
Well, I was just going to come to that. I was going to say it was 2000. No, it was 1999.
Mm-hmm.
From that pub, New Year's Day, I had a motorbike, and I was dropping off a friend, and on the way back, I had an accident, and I broke my back.
Wow.
I crushed 3 vertebrae, lower spine. And I was 2 months in hospital with 3 plates on the front, 1 on the back, and they weren't sure whether I was going to walk again.
Wow.
So that was a very, very rough time. And what actually happened was My brother would come to see me and all that. And I kept saying to the nurses and the doctors and all that lot, look, please get me up and start me walking. Probably after about 3 or 4 weeks. I mean, that wasn't straight away, but after about 3 or 4 weeks, I said, look, you have to get me up and start me walking. And they said, not yet, not yet. You know, we need to let your back try and, you know, solidify itself or whatever properly before we start putting any pressure on it. So I turned around to my brother and I said, look, get me a Zimmer frame, put it by my bed. Right. So he did that. And I'll never forget the first night I tried to get up. I managed to sit up on the bed. I had, again, this whole framework around me with 3 plates on the front, 1 on the back, holding me rigid.
Yeah.
And I thought, I can do this, I can do this. And then as I tried to stand, I realized that my muscles in my legs had wasted away because I had been in bed for 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah.
I hadn't moved. And I didn't realize what that does to your muscles.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do anything else. And I had to lay back down. But every night I would do that. And eventually I sort of stood a bit and I took 1 step on the Zimmer frame and then I'd be back in bed. And the next night I'd take another step and all that. Well, probably about 3 or 4 weeks down the line from that, and again, forgive me if my times are wrong, but it was a long time ago, they came and said to me, right, we're going to get you up and we're going to start trying to help you to move about and all that lot. And I went, okay. And they put this Zimmer frame in front of me. And they were all around me and just take your time. And I was all like playing it on, like, you know, that I couldn't do it. And they stood me up and I was all sort of what. And then I just walked across the room very slowly, albeit not, you know, walked across using the Zimmer frame, walked across the room and back. And they couldn't believe it. And I said, look, I wasn't waiting for you. I had to start. And so I built myself back up and I was walking. And then slowly got back into the gym, sorted myself out. Luckily, I had a business partner in that pub I bought.
Yeah.
So he was running things when I was all laid up and all that lot. And that's how that continued.
Wow. And how long was that recovery?
Oh, a long time. A very slow process over 6 months to just get to basically walk.
Yeah.
You know, like easily. But I couldn't run. I couldn't fight. I couldn't do anything majorly.
Mm.
But I was back on my feet and I was walking without the aid of anything within about 6 months, probably.
Wow.
Luckily, I hadn't. I mean, they say it's broken, but it crushed the vertebrae. So the 3 vertebrae became spongy. They weren't solid.
Yeah.
So extreme pain if it pushed down on a nerve wrong or whatever. I don't know exactly how it works, but yeah, if it pushed down on the nerve wrong or I turned wrong, extreme pain. And the winters were bad. The winters were, you know, for years after that, even now, sometimes in the winter, it can be very painful.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I'm okay. I'm pretty good.
Yeah. And how was your mindset through this little piece of?
No, I was a fighter.
Yeah.
It was like, I'm going to carry on.
Mm-hmm.
This is not going to stop me.
Okay. So we got through that little bit of a. Oh, bloody hell.
Yeah.
Sorry, mate, for laughing. It's just like, wow,
yeah.
I'm so pleased with doing this because not only is it absolutely fascinating to listen to stories like this, and it could be very inspiring for people to listen to stories like this. And I'm sure it's going to wrap into how you know, got to where you are today. So what was life like down in good old Walthamstow or Leighton? Did you say Leighton or Leighton?
Leighton. Yeah.
Leighton. So you've got recovery and.
Yeah, it was good. I won't go into too much detail apart from to say that my son's mum and I split up.
Yeah.
So that happened.
Yeah.
And then the partnership unfortunately broke down.
With
and
your
I
business?
moved on.
With your business, okay.
Yeah. So I left the pub. I left him with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I went off and I worked for another company and got another pub.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a big loss, a lot of detail in there, but yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
I won't go too much into the detail, but I basically, let's say I lost everything.
Yeah.
And had to start again.
So you're back out on the streets.
Well, no. It
I
wasn't that
don't,
bad.
yeah, sorry, I didn't mean that as you was back out in the streets, but that mentality, you're back down to
Yeah,
nothing.
yeah, basically, yeah.
Yeah,
Um, and in this time, I'd started working in the doors as well. Obviously, I did all my own doors in the pubs,
yeah,
but I actually met up with who became a very, very close friend of mine, and still is. And I started working the doors. Um,
in the
and
area.
I was working in North London, and I was working all the yardie clubs.
Oh, right, okay.
So again, the roughest type of club you could have,
Yeah,
and but I built up a real camaraderie with the people I worked with.
sure.
I mean, Goldtooth Stacker will understand this because he works in security, and you build up a brotherhood
Yeah,
with people that you work with like that.
yeah.
Anyway, long story short, I went off to Ireland for a funeral, and I met someone out there, and then we got married.
Hey, okay,
But she couldn't handle East London.
okay.
She couldn't handle the hustle, the bustle. She was a country girl, and so I moved to Kent, and I was running a pub for the same company in Kent. It was a beautiful riverside pub, massive 2 floors of entertainment, and again it was run down. And the boss of that company sent me over there. I turned it around, and I put live bands on. I had outdoor gigs. I had everything going on, and I took that pub to taking about 20 to 22,000 a week. Again,
Wow.
massive,
Yeah.
massive. The guy was so pleased. My car had broken down at one point. He went out, bought me a car, turned up at the pub, and chucked the keys at me and said, "There you go, you got a new car."
Oh,
That's how much he respected me.
yeah.
Well, after a year of being there, he said he was going to sell up, and would I like to buy it? And so I said, yes, I would. So I went into another partnership.
And this
And
is
I
how
bought
old were you hit? How old were you here, mate? Roughly.
this was about 2002, I want to say,
Okay.
roughly.
Yeah.
So 30,
30. Yeah.
31,
31. Yeah.
32. Yeah, about that, roughly.
Okay.
And we bought this pub, myself and my business partner then. And we ran it for about 8 years, 8, 9 years, very, very successfully. But things changed a lot in the pub game. The smoking ban came in. Um, all the football and everything went onto Sky, and they were charging, and there was so many things to change the whole environment.
Sure.
But as I say, it was a military pub, as in we had military base around us.
Okay.
Um, so that was great, and I have a real affinity with the military.
Yeah.
I was still working security in London, so every
Oh,
time there was some big jobs on, I'd go down there and do that sort of stuff. And I then it came to 2010, and we both decided he went off and he was doing wedding organization or whatever, catering
yeah.
and setting up weddings for people and doing very well with it. And we decided to sell up.
Okay.
Sold up, didn't really come out of it with much. And what I came out with it with, I thought, do you know what? I have worked hard. I'm going to Vegas.
Okay.
So I went to Vegas and I spent every penny I had.
And was she still married? You still married?
No. That failed.
Oh, we forgot that bit. Oh, we've missed that bit. We've missed that.
Yeah,
So,
sorry about that.
all
Yeah,
right. So you're back on your own.
yeah, back on my own.
You've sold up.
Um,
And what was the drive to make you to go to Vegas? Is it just a one-off thing off the top of your head, or
I don't know why.
just an impulse thing?
Yeah, I think I just wanted to go. I think when I got married to that girl from Ireland,
Yeah.
we were meant to go on a holiday to America, and she had run off with one of my so-called mates. That's why it all went wrong there. And so me and this other mate of mine from security, I phoned him up and I said, "Bro, this is before this ended, like, and I went to Vegas. But me and him went to Vegas, LA, San Francisco, and a Mexican Riviera cruise for a week. Like
Wow.
the cruise was at the end of it for a week.
Yeah.
So it was a 2-week holiday where you went to each place and then there was a cruise at the end. He could only stay with us for a week. So he was with us in Vegas and LA. And then I carried on San Francisco and the cruise on my own.
Okay.
So I loved Vegas from that trip. So when I sold up, Vegas was the place I wanted to go again.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you a question that will be pertinent to what we do. So you've gone for it's amazing, like one amazing little journey in 30 years. You could write a book on that just on its own.
So many people have said that.
Yeah,
So many,
exactly.
and there's so much obviously I haven't told.
Oh,
There's
I'm
so many
sure.
little bits
Yeah,
that
of course,
which
yeah.
is
So, so you've been successful. Um,
and I've hit rock bottom.
You've hit rock bottom more than once, probably
Yeah,
twice, more than 3 times, more than 4 times. You've
yeah,
basically crippled yourself for a road accident. You've
yeah.
got up off your ass, you've got out there and done it, and then you've been knocked again, and then it hasn't worked. From a, has there been any inkling of this journey up to now at 30 of you wanting to think about your future? Maybe, did you even think about your future with possibly investing or saving or anything like that at this moment in time?
Zero.
Okay, cool.
And I'll tell you for why. And this is the honest truth.
Yeah.
I didn't think I'd live that long.
Okay.
My lifestyle with security, pubs, fighting, this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
I honestly didn't think I'd live that long.
Yeah.
I didn't think I'd reach 20. Then I didn't think I'd reach 25. Then I didn't think I'd reach 30. So no, I didn't invest in nothing. I didn't think about my future. I didn't think about pensions. I didn't think about none of it. I was living a very fast-paced life.
Okay, cool. So then you have this impulsive move. I'm going to America.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
off you go. What was
And
that
off
like?
I went. Oh, it was amazing. I mean, I had the best time of my life. I spent every penny I had, and I came back with nothing.
There's a reoccurring pattern here somewhere, dude.
Yep, yep. And
So
this was my problem. This
yeah,
was my problem.
yeah,
I couldn't save. I made money.
yeah,
I made money. And don't get me wrong, when I say I came back with nothing, I could still pay my rent and all that lot. And I had a little place that I'd rented because obviously I'd been in the pub game so long now that I was used to living above a pub.
mm,
So I never thought about buying property. I always had big houses because above pubs, you get big rooms, big houses,
yeah.
and so I never thought of I always thought I'd be in the pub game. Again, a very silly way to think and a very bad move.
Hindsight.
But that's what it was. Yeah, hindsight's a wonderful thing.
So where are we, mate? Are we still in our third? How long was you in America for?
Oh, not long.
Not long.
Maybe 2 weeks, maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks. But you can spend a lot of money in a day in Vegas.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure you can.
A lot of money.
Yeah, I'm sure. And what you say you had a really good time out there. Then you come back.
Yeah.
By the sounds of it,
And
you've got nothing again.
Hang on, one minute.
That's fine.
Hey, enough. Enough. So I came back and I sat in my house and I thought, well, what am I going to do? And I had two options. There were either pubs, I could go and work for someone and go in a pub again, or security. These were the two things I knew best. And so I decided to develop the security. And I was living in a 2-bedroom house. It wasn't a bad house. It was quite nice. And so I turned the box room, again, back to the box room, turned the box room in my house into a office. And I started a security firm. Now, I had made a lot of connections through the time from working doors, working for different companies, people I met, and I'm a networker and I get on with people very well. And so I had connections. So I started off with 3 people working for me. So there was 4 of us all together. And I got a couple of little jobs that we could do. And I talked to other security companies and said, look, I'll supply to you. And I started supplying to them. And we worked day and night, non-stop. Any job that came in, the 4 of us were out on it. And we worked and worked and worked. And from 4 to 6 to 8 people, it just started growing. and that was started in about 2010, 2011, something like that.
Okay.
And there was ups and downs. There was some real ups and downs in it. And next thing you know, it was growing, and I started getting in a couple of contracts of my own, and I got an office, a proper office, and yeah, just started developing from there.
Okay. So was you still like fighting, and was trouble following you, or had that all calmed down by this time in your
No,
life?
no, no. My life was very different now.
Okay, cool.
Obviously, in security, you got into situations where you'd have to not fight. Well, yeah, it's fighting sometimes. Obviously, in pubs and all that, like you can get into those situations. But the SIA had brought licenses out. It had changed the whole industry, and so it wasn't so much fighting. It was restraining, holding, whatever you had to do. But yeah, you do fight sometimes, of course, depending on where you are and what you're doing.
But as
But
a
it wasn't a thing of fighting on the street. That was
yeah,
work.
yeah,
That I had totally changed. My whole attitude had changed. I was a very decent person by then. Um, Very calm. I would talk first and use my strength afterwards if it had to be used.
sure,
I wouldn't just punch people. I would restrain them.
sure.
So I changed in a big way. My whole attitude had changed, really.
Okay. So you've sounds like you've knuckled down, you're not scared of work, you're building up a
Oh
little
no.
bit of a reputation with a possibility of a new way of earning money.
Yep.
And you're hard at it with a group of other people. And what is your mindset about money? Has that changed at all at this point, or is that
I
still the
wasn't
same?
earning enough to be saving or anything like that. I was
Okay.
surviving, but I was surviving well, you know.
Okay, cool.
And I was never greedy. So I had a guy who worked for me in the pub, and he worked so hard. He was 18 years old when I met him properly. He started working for me in the pub. He would do everything. He would work so hard. And then when I left the pub and sold that, he joined me in security. And again, he worked so hard for me. So after a couple of years of doing the security with him, I gave him an option. I gave him 25% of the business, no cost. And I said, you've got a year to pay me a certain amount and you will be a 50-50 equal partner.
Yeah.
Well, he worked his ass off and he gave me that amount, and we are still 50-50 partners in the business.
Wonderful. That's great.
So, it gave him a chance for something. He worked for it. Don't get me wrong, it wasn't given to him. He
Yeah.
worked for it and he still works for it. And we have built up a very successful security company.
Cool. So we understand now. Um, at what point, where are we? If we can, like, we seem to have jumped quite a few years there.
Well, let's say if I
Say,
started that in roughly 2011,
yeah,
let's say by 2015, 16, we had developed it into quite a good company.
yeah,
We had some unbelievable contracts, but we were still charging lower than some companies because we wanted to get the contracts. So we weren't making fortunes, but we were now at a position where we were surviving. We were doing, we could live reasonably well.
So let's go through the next decade. You're,
Ooh,
you're late, you're late, you're late, you're late, you're sort of mid to late 30s, and you're sort of early to mid 40s. I take it, what was that like? Just grinding every day, building, building, building,
yeah,
building.
it really was. I mean, we were working 18, 20-hour days.
Mm-hmm.
We worked on a lot of the film sets. We would go out there on positions, taking care of things, making sure people weren't coming onto the film set, like Joe Public. We would be out in the rain, the snow. We worked on Big Brother, all sorts. And our days were long, and we'd still have to drive to the place and drive back. We might get 2 hours sleep, 3 hours sleep, and we were back out again for another 18-hour day. It was a hard graft.
Yeah.
And you couldn't take holidays then. It wasn't that simple. One, you didn't have the money really, and
Yep.
two, everything was going into the business, time, effort. It was just non-stop. We
Sure.
did big festivals. They were rough. They could be rough. Pubs, clubs. We were grafting, absolutely grafting.
So, and at any point in that little bit of a journey, was there anything in your mind thinking, or did it ever pop into your mind where you thought, I've got to start thinking a little bit about the future, or was it just too much grind, 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 grind? You don't get time for anything to even think about anything. And
It
I'm
was. It
I'm
was.
probably looking up to, like, that second half of that decade, sort of getting into your 40s time.
It was still a lot of grind, but the problem was I was earning some money now, and I wanted nice things.
Okay.
And so I was spending money like water. I had nice cars. I still have, but I mean, I was buying nice cars, and not to the point where I was flash, because I was more mature by then.
Yeah.
So it wasn't being flash, but I wanted some nice stuff as well. Motorbikes, cars, things like that. And so really, I still hadn't got into the point of I need to think about my future.
Yeah. You was living the
That
life.
still hadn't come about.
You was totally living your life.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Till about 2017,
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
and my daughter was born.
Okay. So we got another person on the scene,
Yeah,
and
and and
beautiful.
I mean, also, well, a lot had happened with my parents and all that. My dad
Yeah.
had got cancer,
Yeah.
and I became, from being the black sheep of the family, let's say, being the one who, well, oh yeah, I mean, oh God, I lost my brother in 2011.
Yeah.
I had spent a lot of time looking after him as well. Unfortunately, he suffered depression, highly intelligent. I mean, literally very highly intelligent. But I lost him in 2011. Then my dad got cancer, and so mum and dad, I moved them up to me in Kent. And so they were closer to me, and I could help them with whatever they needed. So there was a lot of efforts going into that side of things as well. So a lot going on.
Okay. So yeah. So probably you didn't get a lot of time to think about much of the future.
No, and I still
Was
hadn't bought a house.
okay.
Still hadn't bought a house.
Okay. So
But then,
your daughter come along, and you
yes,
said that
yes.
had an impact.
Yeah, it did. It did, because it changed a lot of the way I was thinking, because I thought, now, I was quite quite a bit older now, having her, than I was when I had my son.
Yeah.
And my life had changed to a point that I was a lot more mature, let's say.
Yeah.
Business was very good. It was increasing massively. I've now got a little girl. I'm still grafting. And I thought, I need to I need to make sure there's something there for my son and my daughter, really.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, 2018, I
Mhm.
lost my dad. But within a week of losing my dad, my mum had also had a stroke. And that changed everything, because it was like, well, mum now couldn't live in the place that I'd got her on her own. And so I had to buy a house which would accommodate my mum as well, but still give me some privacy.
Okay, cool. Can I
And
just
so I bought
jump?
the
Can I
house that
just,
I'm in
yeah,
now.
can I just jump in a second?
Yeah,
So between
yeah,
2011 and 2018, you lose your brother. Yeah.
yeah,
You lose your dad.
yeah,
Your mum is very poorly.
yeah,
You have a little daughter,
yeah,
and you're grinding like there's no tomorrow.
yeah.
Wow.
Basically,
Wow, wow,
yeah.
wow. Hold on a second. What the hell was your mindset like, dude?
Um, it's become very strong. I don't give up. I'm very positive.
Yeah.
You see, the way I look at things is, if there's a problem, you can either solve the problem or you can get depressed about the problem. And if you worry about the problem, you've now got two problems. You've got the problem and you've got the worry about the problem. So either you can solve it or you can't. Either way, you have to get on with it. And that was my sort of attitude about everything. I was not going to be negative about anything. Look, I've been through times where I had nothing to eat and I was eating out of bins. You can't get much worse than that. You absolutely can't get much worse than that. So no matter what happens in my life, I've said this, I think I've probably said it to you on the phone as well. If I've got a roof over my head, clothes on my back, and food in my belly, I'm all right. Everything else can be dealt with. And that was my attitude. So when you go through so much, there's very little that can hurt me now.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I was.
Okay.
You can't hurt me.
Okay. So where's Cobra Stacker now? 2018. You got your house?
Okay, so I ended up buying this house, moving mum into it. Unfortunately, the relationship I was in with my baby's, my little girl's mum didn't work out. She wasn't willing to be part of having mum living with us and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But I wasn't going to put my mum in a home. That's a no-no. And so that didn't work out. We're very good. We're friends. We're cool. No problems. I see my daughter all the time. So there's no hassles in it, but it was a different opinion on taking care of parents, shall we say.
Yeah.
So I split in that and I went off and I bought the house and I moved mum in. And for the last 4.5 years, I worked and looked after mum, and I had carers as well. It got to a stage where we needed 24-hour living carer, so I could work as well. And that was my life until March, just gone.
Okay.
And unfortunately, mum passed away.
Sorry to hear that.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Wow. Wow. So that was that. Yeah, wow. Wow. What story. It is flipping amazing. So did you say, sorry, was that March of this year?
2023. Yeah, we're now in 2024, bro. Last year.
March. Oh, cool. Crikey. March of last year. So
Yeah.
you were dealing with that. Obviously, very difficult. Well, I know personally, but very difficult time in your own personal circumstances with your mum.
Yeah.
And you obviously come on to the stacking scene in the UK as Cobra Stacker 3 months before that happened, at the beginning
Yeah.
of the year.
Yeah.
Take us through to now. When did you start, or what made you think, probably the year before, I need to do something which has turned into what you're doing now from a gold, silver, investing thing? What was that journey?
Okay. Well, from when my daughter was born, first of all, it changed my attitude with money. And so I started putting away money. And I felt that was important because now I've got a little girl and I've got my boy, and they will need something, and I need a future, and I need some sort of security financially as well. So I didn't know much about anything share wise, gold, silver, anything like that. Gold has always been with us because of my upbringing, being Indian as well. All my jewelry's 22 karat gold. It's, so that was a thing that, buy gold, it'll always go up. But apart from that, I didn't really know much about much. But I was putting money away in premium bonds from when my daughter was born. I just started piling it in there, and built up a little bit there. Bought my house as well. And luckily, the business gave me the opportunity to do these things as well. So that was good. And then just before mum passed, watching YouTube and thinking of other ways of doing things because I didn't have a pension. And where I had the businesses and all that lot, I never really thought about it. And so I started watching YouTube and, you know, we've mentioned them several times, 365 Backyard Bullion. And I thought, start buying some silver. And then it was that thing of just bulking up on silver. And I think a lot of you have seen my journey, or if you go back to my videos, you'll see how rapidly I was buying silver and not with a great understanding of it either. Literally just buy silver. And that's what I did. And gold at a very fast rate. And then also my thinking was, I want to retire soon. You know, I'm doing well and I want to retire in the next year, 2 years, maybe. And I can't sit still and do nothing. And this is because of the way my life has been. So therefore, I'm going to have to do something with myself. What am I going to do? So about 3 months after starting to stack silver and gold, I decided to start my YouTube channel. And it was just to give me something to keep me busy. So that if I retire, I've got something to do.
You've just made me crack there because I've just listened to someone that has been non-stop, barely rests, barely does anything. And then you say, I need something to keep me busy. Sorry.
Well, no.
Sorry.
No. But what I meant was that I was thinking for the next couple of years, I want to retire.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I was scared, and that's the truth. I was scared that when I retire, I'll have nothing to do. I'm going to be bored. Yeah. So I thought, if I start a YouTube channel, then I'll have something to do.
Okay.
And so that's why I started the YouTube channel, really, was to make sure when I retire, I'll have something to do. But it's just grown and developed into a monster.
Okay. Why do you think, what has this mindset that you've developed through all these ups and downs, get up, accidents, get yourself better, recover. Has that just followed on into your silver gold investment sort of head now?
Yeah, I guess it has, in the way of, one, it was for an investment. Now, you know, I have my views and I've mentioned it in my videos and all that lot, that silver has a certain amount of retention for your money, but gold is the real investment when it comes to the two of them. I love them both, don't get me wrong. But silver is more now for me, collect the beautiful pieces I really like, and you're still collecting silver and you're still storing your money. But that's for every individual to decide what they want to do. But I don't know, my brain works in a very business sense as well, and I can't help that. And then it sort of develops into other things. And I think, well, what else can we do with this, you know, this channel, and what way can we go with it? And obviously then I started the auctions, and that was going to be a bit of fun and bring some nice pieces into the country that no one else has ever seen, and build our community. That was a big point, that I wanted to build something over here, because I kept watching stuff in America and how close they are and what they do and all that lot. And, you know, we had no stickers there and we had nothing. No one had a sticker here. So I thought, right, I'll make a sticker and I'll send it out and I'll make coins and I'll do this and just connect us all up. And I think the people like myself, you, 365, even the new ones have joined, have all started working towards that goal as well. And we're building something here now, which is expanding at a phenomenal rate, but in a good way, in a really good way.
Okay, cool. So how long was it into that journey that you realized that, roughly?
That I realized that we needed to build something over here.
That you could see an opportunity within what you was doing to build something bigger than just stacking, putting videos on.
3 months.
3 months in.
Yeah. Of YouTube, yeah.
Okay.
3 to 4 months. I thought we can do something here.
And are you like just getting back into you? Are you still on your own at that point?
Oh no. I met the most amazing woman 2 years back, 2 and a bit years back now.
Oh, right, okay.
Mrs. Cobra Stacker. Quite a
Mrs.
few of
C.
you have chatted to her and said hello.
Yeah.
And she is honestly the most amazing woman for me in the world. She
Excellent.
knows how to take care of a man, how to support her man. She's just another level.
That's really cool. It took you a long time to find that by the sound of
Oh,
it.
yeah. Mm. But I'll be honest, the security business and the pub trade does not help you in relationships.
No.
Because you're out working a lot of the time. And a lot of women don't understand that. They want your time, which I understand. But pubs are a morning till night game. Security's long hours, close protection, especially. You can go on tour. So, you know, you can be away for weeks at a time. So to find a woman who understands all that is not easy in these sort of games.
Sure. So coming up to this year, because I know you've got to get away soon, dude. So we'll just do that last segment.
Yeah.
Looking at your display now,
Yep.
to only 4 months ago, there's a massive radical change. And I think through this short and understanding insight into Cobra Stacker, we can all see where you get your drive and energy from. It's a massive mental strength that you've probably overcome and used to your advantage, and now you're using it to your advantage in an investment way. Would you agree? That would be
100%. 100%. Because whatever I do in life, and I've had to do this right from the beginning, I've had to put my full effort into.
Yeah.
Now this, you know, stacking and all that could be quite a relaxed thing. You know, I'll just buy 3 or 4 pieces a month or whatever. And
Yeah.
but I don't think my mind works like that. It works on a different level of, right, if you're going to do it, go for it. And if you're going to go for it, trust in it. And don't get me wrong, even in the last year and a bit that I've been doing this, my mind has adjusted to what I feel is better for me, and a better way of stacking or collecting. And so it adjusts all the time, but it will still go full force.
Yeah.
So whatever I do has to be done with a commitment. Otherwise, don't do it.
Okay. What was the real spark thought, or what was the real spark and thought to doing what you're doing now, which you've turned around so quickly? It's incredible. Was it purely, look, we over in the UK have not got this opportunity put in front of us. I'm going to put it out there. Was that the thought?
There were several thoughts to it, and
Okay. What were they?
yeah, several thoughts to it. One was we were individually doing videos,
Yeah,
and we had little lives going out where the community would get together a little bit. But this was a way I wanted to bring the community together for. It started off with one night a month, where we all get together, have a laugh, buy gold, silver, and all that lot. And it's not financially motivated because, trust me, you can't make a lot of money out of this.
yeah,
You know, you make a quid or two here and there, 10 a here, 5 a there on a piece, and you lose money on certain pieces. But there was that side of it, which was having a night where we all get together. So that was really channel development, and having a chance. I love networking, absolutely love networking. So that's a big thing. And the second thing is, we were so generic with our pieces. You know, the rhetoric when I started was just get the pieces from your country. So if you're in America, you want your silver eagles, Canada, your maples, and in England, Britannia's, sovereigns, stuff like that. And I was getting bored with it. And I thought, there is so much out there. And both you and me have seen that. You know, we've been talking and we'd look at sites and you'd look at more. You study into it and go to every site in the world. And we'd phone each other up and go, oh, have you seen this piece or have you seen that piece or whatever? And I thought, well, we haven't got all that here now. In America, they've got coin shops in every corner and, you know, websites everywhere and big dealers and all that sort of stuff. But our dealers over here, due to customs and everything else, I don't think it's a viable business to bring all these pieces in. But if you do it on a smaller scale and you offer it out to people, there's so much out there. So there was two sides to it. One was just the whole thing of networking, community, getting us all together, having a laugh. And the other side was to bring pieces into the country that people never see or very rarely see or can't get hold of easily.
You've done that in an amazing amount of short time.
Well, I'm hoping it will develop a lot more.
Yeah, that's my next question as we start to wind this one up. Where do we see Cobra Stacker going now?
Well, I think the auctions are a great thing. People love it. They're enjoying it. I'll carry on with them. I want to get some wonderful pieces in. It's not for everyone. And I'll always say this, please, stick to your budget, stick to your plans. And if you see pieces you like and you can afford them, by all means, go for it. But this is not to adjust anyone's view of what they should or shouldn't have, which is why in the auctions I have everything from bullion right up to really expensive premium pieces, so that it caters for everyone. But I want to develop that. I want to grow it. I want to form links with some of the big mints, so we can try and work out a way to get stuff here at a reasonable price. Yeah, just carry on with what I'm doing, really. And I just want our community to grow. And I really do want that, because I think, look, I can't see us getting to the level of America necessarily, where there's coin shops everywhere, because our country isn't geared up for that as such. And I don't think enough of a percentage of the population knows the value of gold and silver, or putting your money into it. But I think we are getting a message out there. All of us creators, not just me, we're getting a message out there. We're teaching people. We're supporting people. When they start midway through their journey, if they want to become a creator, if it's advice, my phone number, so many people have got it, and I don't mind. And they can phone me up, and if I can't talk to them straight away, I'll get back to them, and I will help anyone I can in their journey, only with opinions, because I can't give advice, as we've heard many times. We're not financial advisors, but I've developed my knowledge in the last year, and if I can give that knowledge to help someone else, I'm more than happy to do that.
That's wonderful, because my next question was going to be, where would you like to see the UK stacking community go over the next decade? And I think you pretty much answered that one.
Yeah, I want it to grow, and I want it to be strong, and I want it to be, don't get me wrong, this community is such a good community, and I think, we're getting more and more people joining it all the time, more and more creators, more and more subs, and 99% of them are decent, genuine people from what I can see. You're always going to get a little bad element. You've got to be careful of people trying to con you. You've got to be careful of fake stuff out there. So you're always going to have that element, especially in what we're dealing with, which is money, gold and silver. It has a value to it. And where there's a value, people will look at taking advantage. But in general, the community is spot on.
Brilliant. Now, obviously, I'm going to probably start doing these sort of videos, hopefully with other creators, because I think it's really important to inspire other people by our own journeys. And I can't thank you enough for that, because that's definitely inspired me and made me think a little bit more about my life a little bit.
Thank you, brother.
It's a pleasure, mate. One question I'm going to ask everybody that I have this type of setup with: in your journey, and you don't have to say this from a financial point of view, but where's your affiliation? Is it gold or silver?
Gold.
Gold. Cool.
Yeah.
You don't need to explain it. It's really cool. Dude, amazing. Absolutely amazing. Please, we've got 5 minutes. Please tell everyone about this crazy, amazing, wonderful auction that you have. Fill the space up.
All right. Well, thank you. First of all, thank you very much, and I hope people can gain something out of this this video. I've opened up quite a bit. I've told you quite a bit of personal stuff. There's a lot I haven't told you. But I hope it can help everyone in some way, or even inspire people to think, no, you know what, fight, no matter what, just keep fighting. Now, as far as what you see in front of you, this, I don't know when this video will come out, but what you see in front of you is the setup for the auction, which is on Friday, the 5th of January. This video may come out after, I don't know. But if it doesn't, then that's when it's for, and it starts at 7 p.m. Now, we are getting pieces in again from all over the world: Italy, Germany, America, Australia, New Zealand. And I'm just bringing something to everyone. And I would love everyone to come and join the auction. You do not have to buy. Please keep that in mind. You can come along and enjoy the night and have a laugh and watch and see pieces that you may have never seen before. If you would like to buy, absolutely, by all means, come and join us and buy, because all that I do is I put the money into getting new pieces to put out there and show you guys. If you do want to buy, you do have to become a member of my channel, and that gives you a mark by your name, which shows that you are a legitimate buyer. And also you'll be sent out a very nice Cobra Stacker card, membership card, which I will show you here.
It's on my screen.
There it is. Oh, okay, yeah, it is. And that's made of metal, so it's not a piece of cardboard. And you'll be entered into a Telegram group. And basically, in that Telegram group, you can win free silver, and stuff will be sold on there a bit cheaper than in the auctions or anywhere else, just as a little bonus. And so it's a lot of fun, a lot of good times, and you will meet a lot of good people. So, as I say, either way, you do not have to buy. And I will say it again, always buy within your budget. I don't want anyone to come on an auction and start bidding and get wrapped up in it, because look, it is a bit of fun as well when you do get wrapped up and you bid higher sometimes than even what you could go and get it down the road. But it's a good laugh. But don't get wrapped up where you overspend on your budget. It's important to enjoy it. And yeah, just come along and have a good time.
Oh, brilliant. And what days do you do that on, mate?
So normally I will do it on the first Friday of every month and the third Friday of every month, though the mid-month one can change on the day depending on work and everything else. But the first Friday of every month, and then mid-month I'll do another one, so it'll be twice a month, and it will normally start 7 or 7:30.
Okay, brilliant. And the name of your channel is
Cobra Stacker.
as simple as that. Brilliant.
It really is.
Cheers, buddy. Thank you very much for sharing that time. It is very inspirational. My take from it really is a great story that you never give up. You can be down, you can be up, you can be down, you can be up, keep persevering. And I think you've personified that in a beautiful, lovely, honest story. And I'm very respectful of that, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much indeed.
Brother, it's an absolute pleasure, and thank you so much for having me. And let me tell you a little story about myself. I really appreciate it, and I hope it helps people out there.
Oh, it will do. Without a doubt. It will resonate with a lot of people. Circumstances may be different, but it will resonate, the true base meaning of it. So I'm really pleased that we've had that conversation. Thank you so much. Take care. Love you lots. See you later. Bye.